I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome here to coverage of Race 27, playoff race number 1 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series as we begin the playoffs here at the Gateway International Raceway, second time that we have been to this racetrack here at the very start of the postseason. 26 races in the books. At the conclusion of last week's race at Auto Club, we ended up determining not the 16, but the 17 drivers that were going to compete for this championship after we had that tie for the absolute final wild card spot. And those 17 drivers will look to take the first step towards the round of 12 here this afternoon. It is a winning you're in situation, so if any of our 17 drivers go to victory lane here today, they know they are advancing into the next round of the playoffs regardless of what happens in the next 2 weeks in this first round. That would be at Chatham and Nashville Super Speedway. Good starting track position here tonight for a number of our playoff contenders. 5 of them actually advanced into the Fast 10 in yesterday's qualifying session, and 2 of them will line up on the front row. Let's take a look at the playoff points coming into this race and kind of show you how important it is the 2 drivers we have starting at the very front of the field, because Keith Batson captures his first pole of the season, and he's alongside of Reese Banks. You'll notice on the playoff grid, those 2 drivers come into this race in the 16th and 17th seed. Why is that? Well, it's based off of the average finish as to who is seated higher than the other, but those are 2 of 4 drivers that pointed their way into the playoffs, did not have the benefit of the bonus points for a win, and so therefore they start out at an even 1,000 points. LaPlante and Destin Boland being the other 2. Those 2 here today with the good starting track position could translate that into some really good points, maybe even pick up a win, and maybe lock themselves into the next round worry-free. Some other drivers that are starting up towards the front include Casey Hoyt. He's rolling off from the 4th position. Ryan Butcher, and Jessica Shelton. They're going to be in row 5, completing the top 10. But as you see on your playoff points, it's basically reformatted to what everybody got in terms of bonus points. Rob Evans, the 15 bonus points for being the regular season champion. Casey Hoyt, James Qualls, Connor Breton, 5 points apiece for their 3 wins, have them tied with him for the points lead. Matthew Rodriguez, Will Goss, Jessica Shelton were all 2-time winners, so they have 1,010. And then your 1-time winners with 5 points for their win, Turner, Poteet, Fogler, Butcher, Rogers, and Young. We already documented about the 4 drivers, LaPlante, Boland, Batson, and Banks, who are in but did not have any bonus points to transfer from the regular season. Will track position be important here tonight? That is going to be the big question. It seemed to be in yesterday's lights race here from Gateway. However, if we rewind back to the first time we came here to Gateway back in Season 6, Caleb Fogler ended up winning the race, and he did so from the 25th starting position. So maybe with the additional laps, because we're running twice the length that we ran yesterday's lights race, 80 laps here today, maybe the fact that we're going to have probably at least 2 rounds of pit stops these drivers are going to have to make, that could shake things up. But in the question of is track position important, there are a lot of playoff contenders that, as we mentioned, are starting at the front, but a lot that are starting towards the back of the pack as well. Rob Evans, Zach Rogers, Dylan Young, they're starting outside of the top 25, and then you've got a couple of drivers at the very, very tail end of the field. I believe Connor Breton is starting this race from shotgun, so he's got a lot of ground to make up, and not all that good qualifying track position for the defending winner of this race, Caleb Fogler, either. So we'll see if those drivers will be able to work their way up through the field, maybe get into the conversation for this victory here today, because 2 very challenging racetracks await once we are done at Gateway. But enough talk. It's time to find out who's going to take that first step towards the championship. We're going down trackside. Get those most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Keep an eye on your temps for this first segment. We shouldn't really be in danger of overheating, but it will, probably get up to about 220, so just keep an eye on that.
Right side of your screen, you see your starting lineup for today's race from Gateway. Oh yeah, by the way, we focused on the 17 playoff drivers, but there's another 25 drivers in the field that want to get that checkered flag just as much, so we may end up having a non-playoff contender go to victory lane here today, and if that's the case, then none of the 17 playoff drivers are locked into the next round, and it will come down more than likely to points. Ford's been very strong here this weekend. 5 Fords sweeping the top 5 here in Cup qualifying yesterday. We saw a dominating performance by another Ford in Kyle Langland winning the lights race yesterday afternoon, and now it will be Keith Batson and Reese Banks, a couple of playoff contenders that are going to bring us down here to our first green flag of the playoffs here in Season 7. 80 circuits around this 1.25 mile racetrack. Who's going to be the one to lead the final lap? The journey begins here and now as Keith Batson brings us down into the restart zone. Flagman has the green flag in hand, and it is waving at Gateway. RJ Bishop right out of the gate going to drive it to the inside of Batson, who overshot turn 1's entry. And Bishop's GT 500 is going to go to the point. Bonus points for laps led, most laps led. Those are going to be very important for drivers that'll be around that cut line during the course of these 3 respective rounds. And RJ Bishop is going to lead the first lap of the afternoon here at Gateway. Batson, though, charging back, wants the lead. Jose Mills is slotted into 3rd, then a couple of teammates out of Lake Effect Autosport. The rookie Casey Hoyt, second season driver Reese Banks for the 4th spot. And Anthony McCurry's Mazda is now going to get up into the conversation for the top 5. Both the Mazdas ran well in qualifying yesterday. McCurry and Gunther both qualifying into the Fast 10. RJ Bishop, the only young motorsports car that didn't make the playoffs this season. Will Goss got in with 2 victories. Dylan Young with 1 victory. And Dustin Bolin got in via top 10 in points. Still give her his first win on the season. As 3rd place under contest. 5th place just exchanged. Anthony McCurry just made his way around Reese Banks. McCurry still searching for his first Duracell Cup Series victory. I talked about this in qualifying yesterday. A lot of drivers really struggling in the points even at this late hour of the season. And they just want to finish out the year with a checkered flag if they can. Anthony McCurry would be one of those drivers. You look at RJ Bishop, he's 31st in points. Matt McIntyre, Joshua Osborne, Ryan Brommer. Nick Gunther just broke into victory lane for the first time this season last week in the finale at Auto Club, but he was running so far down in points it didn't help him towards a playoff position. He was a playoff contender last year, regular season champion, 4 trips to victory lane. Other drivers that are just looking to get a win here to close out the year: Laura Chung, Cole Deaver, Daniel Voiles, Kyle Matthews, Benjamin Miles, a lot of them. that still have a 0 in the win column. And they know they're not battling for the championship, so now they can go out there and be ultra aggressive, try and get some checkered flags and some good momentum in preparation for Season 8. Keith Batson more on the defensive side there through 3 and 4th in the offensive side, trying to put dirty air on the nose of Jose Mills, who was taking a look for second place. Mills going to charge to the inside here through 1 and 2. And Jose Mills not quite clear here down the back straightaway, but he might be able to get him once they get over here to turn 3. Need to move into the second spot. Jose Mills, another driver, winless this year. And how about this, looking 3 wide maybe for third place, Anthony McCurry to the inside of Casey Hoyt, who was almost to the left rear quarter panel of Keith Batson. That'll be side by side for 4th place between the 61 and the 74, and playoff contender Ryan Butcher closing up on this battle. Right now holding down the 6th position after back-to-back seasons in the playoffs. And both seasons getting in through a victory at Bristol Dirt, which, by the way, is not the only dirt track that we're at this season. Next week, we're heading to Chatham. Last year, we ran the pavement section. Matt Haas picking up the victory there. This season, we're going to the dirt-covered road course. Chatham Dirt, going to be a bit of a wild card race for these drivers for sure. And we'll see if any of our playoff contenders can utilize that racetrack, either their road course or their dirt tracking or both experience, to make their way into the round of 12. With there being 17 drivers that made it into the playoffs, normal cases we would have 4 drivers eliminated when the checkered flag waves in 2 weeks' time at Nashville Superspeedway. But since we have 17 playoff contenders, 5 drivers will be eliminated in this first round. Then after the round of 12, 4 more drivers. Then after the round of 8, 4 more drivers. So we'll get back to the norm after our first elimination race at Nashville Superspeedway in 2 weeks' time. That'll be the next time that we see the Duracell Lights drivers on track also. Got a good battle back here between some playoff contenders. For the 8th spot, Dylan Poteet trying to get to the left rear quarter panel of Reese Banks. Poteet's been kind of quiet here down the home stretch of the regular season. A couple of drivers that I was kind of wondering about their momentum in this playoffs, because they really were kind of persona non grata in the closing stages of the regular season after really strong first halves of the regular season and even a little bit of the races after the All-Star break. Poteet was one of those drivers I was a little worried about. Casey Hoyt was another. James Qualls was another. You know, we'll see. We'll see if those drivers, now that the playoffs have begun, if they turn up the wick once more. Poteet now alongside of Reese Banks for that 8th spot. And right behind them, you've got Reggie Fogelman. I'm really impressed with the speed he's been able to find in the Haas Racing Toyota. Of course, Reggie Fogelman will be going over to that team full-time next year. He is currently in his 2nd of 5 races that he'll run this season for the team, kind of getting his feet wet. And right behind him is Jessica Shelton. Shelton, as we mentioned, qualified in the top 10. I believe she qualified in the 10th position yesterday. 2-time winner, got in via a wild card spot, that Project Dodge Intrepid out of S3 Motorsports, the lone hope for S3 Motorsports to go back to back to back in terms of Duracell Cup Series championships. They did it in Season 5 with the 09, they did it in Season 6 with the 03, and now looking to do it here in Season 7 with the 94. Got some battling up here. Just inside the top 5, Casey Hoyt to the inside of Jose Mills. That would be for 3rd, Anthony McCurry, riding in the tire tracks of the Body Armor Ford. Ryan Butcher running up on the outside line, maybe waiting to see if that inside line is even going to work. Actually going to try and get to the right rear quarter panel of Anthony McCurry to try to swing around him for the 5th position. As a nice exit out of turn 2 for Keith Batson, puts the pressure back on RJ Bishop, who has led the first 12 laps so far here today. Now these drivers here, they are CTS physics as opposed to the Lights series that we had yesterday, which runs Cup physics. So I'm expecting them to be to pit road maybe a little bit sooner than the Cup cars were. Though they are running, I think, slightly lower speeds than the Cup drivers were. The Cup drivers are running in the 31-second brackets, and these drivers here are running now with the somewhat worn tires in the 33-second bracket. They were about 32.7 to 32.8 on their fastest laps. So they might actually be able to go a little bit further on fuel. If that is the case, then we're looking for them to come to pit road somewhere in the vicinity of 25, anywhere from 25 to 35 laps. So we've still got about another 10 laps before we get to that point, as RJ Bishop continues to show the way. Keith Batson right there, though. Question is he just in ride mode, preserving that second spot? Or does he have enough turnability through the center of the corner to be able to make a move here for the lead? Here he is showing the nose, running much lower off the exit of turn 4. Trying to get to the left rear quarter panel of RJ Bishop down the front straightaway. He's showing the nose down here into turn 1. Does he send it in there? Nope, he's going to tuck back in line behind RJ. Anthony McCurry trying to break up these Fords that currently have a stranglehold on the top 4. Right now, Anthony, the highest running non-Ford in 5th, and he got the Toyota of Ryan Butcher rather in 6th. Highest Chevrolet is Dylan Poteet in 8th position. While we've got pit stops looming, oh, actually, hold on. Maybe a battle for the lead here. Well, may actually be a battle for second. Keith Batson stepped out of turn 4. And now Jose Mills going to try to get to his outside. Can Batson hold him off? Yes, he can. As a matter of fact, that's going to slow Jose Mills. And that brings Casey Hoyt to his inside, potentially for third. While this battling is going on, and hopefully we don't see an exchange for the lead, let's jump to the back of the pack and find drivers that are playoff contenders that might be struggling. Zachary Fitzwater way back here from the group. Wonder if he might have gotten up into the wall or something. He appears to be somewhat off the pace. Connor Breeden, we mentioned, he started shotgun on the field. The 3-time winner who came into this race in the 4th seed of the playoffs. Right now he is in 39th place. Zach Rogers and Rob Evans, a couple of teammates out of Evans Motorsports, right now in the 34th and 35th positions. So they've got to be relying on pit strategy to gain them track position. Dylan Young up here in the 30th spot. James Qualls, a couple cars ahead in 28th. There's Matthew Rodriguez, our Daytona 500 winner, trying to get around Carson Gum. These two are former teammates. They both drove in the 19 car back in season 5. Rodriguez right now in 26th place. Got to go further up before you find some more playoff contenders. There's Caleb Vogler, the defending winner of this race, trying to take 19th away from Austin LaPlante. Jesse Turner right now holding down the 14th spot, right behind his teammate Reese Banks, who's drifted back to 13th. Destin Bolin now putting pressure on his teammate Will Goss. This is 11th and 12th for the 11 and the 12. No, I did not just make that up. That is actually what their positioning is right now. And they're the first playoff contenders outside of the top 10, with Jessica Shelton getting by Reggie Fogelman, moving up to 9th. Dylan Poteet right now in 8th. Ryan Butcher currently in 5th. Keith Batson battling for the 3rd spot with Jose Mills, and Casey Hoyt made the pass on both of them to move up into the 2nd spot. He is the highest running playoff driver as things currently stand, and now he'll go to work on trying to reel in RJ Bishop. Monster Energy versus Body Armor here for the top position. Getting close to that point when pit stops might come into play. This is not an easy pit road to get onto either. If you didn't tune into the lights race yesterday, a couple of drivers actually missed the entry to pit lane, had to come back around. It's a very tight access road that you see there that you do have to use going into 3, as Casey Hoyt will look to the inside for the top spot, looking for the first lead change of the afternoon, a quarter of the way through this race. But if you end up missing that access road and you get your right side tires off into the grass, car's not going to want to turn, and you're going to find yourself off and on the inside slow into turns 3 and 4, as there is a lead change. Casey Hoyt will take the top spot. Not quite clear yet. Bishop going to battle back on the top. Oh, he is going to battle back on the top. Wow, that's about the best run I think I've seen a car get all weekend on the outside line through 3 and 4. Can he keep that up and stay alongside of Casey Hoyt? Edged ahead. Hoyt back to the throttle. Batson trying to get there. Bishop stays to the right rear. I think Hoyt might get him this time. I think he's clear. And Casey Hoyt will indeed go to the point this time. And he didn't lead the previous lap. RJ Bishop actually drag raced him back to the start finish line. Bishop's coming back again. Is Bishop going to get him at the line this time? No, I don't think so. I think this time Casey Hoyt is going to get the bonus point for the lap led. But Bishop will not go away. Bishop's car looks really good up there in that second lane. Oh, that time he had to lift a ton. And he's going to have to lift more off a turn, too, as he almost brushes the wall. Boy, he gave it a heck of a try, trying to keep Casey Hoyt from taking the lead from him. But now Bishop's going to drop back to at least third, maybe more. Oh, my gosh, 3 wide there. Dylan Pote diving it in on Ryan Butcher and Jose Mills. You think these drivers don't realize that green flag pit stops are coming up and they're fighting and clawing for every spot they can get beforehand? Great racing all the way through the field. That's why this track came back here for a second season, because of the great racing we had 1 year ago. But now we got the next aspect of this racetrack that'll be coming into play, and that is the green flag pit stops. Execution. It's what it's all about here this week at Gateway. Next week, I think it may come down to skill and luck at the Chatham Dirt Road Course. And then the following week at the elimination race, I think it's going to be all about preserving your tires for the long run, because we're going to the tire shredding concrete Nashville Superspeedway. Well, as all these drivers were kind of stacked up double and 3 wide, Nick Gunther and Jessica Shelton have caught up, so we've got 5 drivers up in this lead pack. Reggie Fogelman has drifted back into a 3-car pack with Will Goss and Destin Boland, then another 3-car pack behind them with teammates Reese Banks and Jesse Turner, along with the non-playoff driver Cody Lamas. That's back to around the 15th position. Who's going to be the first one to duck onto pit lane? What will that gain you in terms of strategy? Again, just kind of going back to the notes that we have from the lights race yesterday, Sophia Simon stayed out the longest of anybody, stayed out about an extra lap, and ended up gaining a ton of track position. I think she gained like 3 or 4 spots after everything cycled around. So did the Cup drivers take notice of that? Do we see somebody utilize that type of strategy in this race as RJ Bishop trying to charge back to the front, gets around Keith Batson. Anthony McCurry going to follow him there. And now Bishop, instead of the role of the hunted, now he is the hunter. Trying to see if he can get back around Casey Hoyt. I think the strategy for some drivers in tonight's race, just based off of what position they started. For some of them that started up towards the front, it was, we're going for this win. We're going to get that automatic locked-in spot into the round of 12. For other drivers, though, I think it was, let's make sure we get at least a good enough points-paying day, even if we may not be in the conversation for this win, to give us a cushion to the 12th in the standings cut line heading into next week. Because I feel like next week's going to be a track position race as well. I mean, it's a road course for one thing, but then it's a dirt-covered road course, and we know that road courses typically this season have been about track position. Here we go, pit stops. Casey Hoyt and RJ Bishop both going to come in. Looks like they're both going to make it onto pit road safely. Jose Mills, Ryan Butcher, Nick Gunther coming in this lap, checking up on the top of the screen, making sure everybody gets in safely. Nobody looks like they've missed the pit road entry, at least for those that chose to come to pit road here. That turns the lead over to Keith Batson, so he'll become the second playoff driver to lead this afternoon. Casey Hoyt was the first, and now Batson's coming in, along with McCrory and Poteet. Does anybody roll the dice and stay out a little bit longer here? Around lap 30 is when these drivers are making pit stops, so they'll be having to come to pit lane again around 20 laps to go. Bit of a congested pit road here, very tight pit roads. You've got drivers that are exiting pit lane as opposed to the drivers that are entering. Let's look up towards the front here of the drivers that are leaving pit road. There's RJ Bishop coming out behind Jose Mills and Ryan Butcher and Casey Hoyt. So Bishop's team dropped the ball there on that pit stop, and he lost 2 positions. Jose Mills is going to gain a few spots, as is Ryan Butcher, as they should cycle up potentially to 2nd and 3rd. RJ Bishop potentially will cycle into the 4th spot with Destin Bolin in 5th, though we're waiting to see about these drivers that pitted on the 2nd lap round, where they're going to cycle to. Looks like Batson's going to come out, maybe in 4th. Mills is going to swing around him on the outside. Butcher might be able to here. And if he can complete the pass here, that'll move Batson back to 4th place. Well, look at the gap that Casey Hoyt's been able to open up back to Jose Mills. Hoyt back to the top of the board. Mills into 2nd. Ryan Butcher currently 3rd. Keith Batson will be 4th, and Dylan Poteet in 5th. So you've got, right now, 4 playoff contenders inside of the top 5. RJ Bishop, who was 2nd when the pit stop cycle began, will drop all the way back now to 7th, or make that 6th rather. He just took 6th place away from Anthony McCurry, who drifts back to 7th. Destin Bolin now up to 8th. Reggie Fogelman in 9th, and Ryan Brommer currently completes the top 10. Battle here for 11th as the caution is out. Yellow flag is out, and that's a big break for drivers that may not have necessarily had a good pit stop. I believe everybody was on the lead lap at the time. Fortunately, we didn't have a scenario like we did back at Auto Club, where the caution came out in the middle of green flag pit stops. But there is smoke up here into turns 3 and 4, and Cole Deaver is one of the drivers that is involved. Some other drivers on pit lane, Mitchell Collins and Kyle Matthews, all 3 of them non-playoff drivers. There's another driver in Daniel Voiles and also Carson Gum. Oh, we did have a playoff driver involved. 2 playoff drivers. Reese Banks and Will Goss are on pit lane. Charles Sanford, badly mangled. Got some drivers coming to pit lane here, appear to have some damage. Matt Haas and Matt McIntyre. Zachary Fitzwater, I think, has got some damage. Connor Breton's got damage. James Qualls has got damage. Dylan Young's on the pit lane. I think I just named off there 5 playoff contenders. So this was a much bigger wreck than I had originally assumed. And it puts us under the yellow for the first time here today. Let's go back and take a look at what happened and how it happened. Wonder if maybe somebody didn't merge correctly off of pit road. Let's see if we can move up to the 11 of Will Goss to maybe show us what went down here. He was the highest rank of the drivers that was on pit road in the 14th position. Oh, that car just starts slowing. Will Goss had a problem, and he was trying to get down to pit road, and Cody Lamas gets into him. Daniel Voiles, Kyle Matthews. Oh my gosh! Matthews gets pummeled by Mitchell Collins, and he goes for a wild barrel roll over here in 3. You could see there on the back straightaway, Will Goss knew he had a problem. And I'm not certain if it might have been a tire, a loose wheel. But as he was trying to get down to the inside to get to pit road, Dylan Young got clipped there in the 2. Man, that's a shot. Reese Banks nowhere to go. Connor Breton, James Qualls, Levi McIntyre, Laura Chung I saw there. Chris Dollerton gets into Kyler Sustre. We got a lot of replays to look at here. I think Matthew Rodriguez got a piece of it, actually, in the 24. Oh, nope, he got through. Dylan Young did get through despite some contact there from Daniel Voiles. Daniel Voiles actually went up and over also. There you see Kyler Sustre getting spun by Chris Dollerton. Let's see what happens with the 26. I think he gets hit by Carson Gum. Wreck's already in progress. There's the clip from Dylan Young. And then here comes Carson Gum flying in. Cole Deaver, Matt McIntyre. Jesse Turner is going to get hit in the left rear, but I think he got through relatively unscathed. Man, Michael Norman. Was that Norman or was that Matt McIntyre that just barely squeezed through? That was Michael Norman. Holy cow, we're going to have to take an onboard with him. Let's try and find the 88 of Connor Breton and the 70 of James Qualls. Breton's going to sideswipe McIntyre and Chung and then slides up into Matt McIntyre. Qualls gets into Breton. Rob Evans is able to get through. There's Michael Norman. I mean, Norman passed a lot of cars right there, and he really didn't lift. Let's take some onboards. Let's start with the 22. He was quite a ways back, and he saw positions up ahead of him, and very gutsy driving here out of Michael Norman to pick up a bunch of spots. Wreck's in progress at this point in time, and he's just now exiting out of turn 2. Watch this shoot up the gap. Picked up about 10 or 12 spots right there. Let's see if we can go on board with one of our playoff drivers. Let's see what let's see if we can go on board with Connor Breton. Let's see what he saw. Some pretty good shots right there. Matt Haas in the 8 collected up. And then if the camera survived, let's see if we can go on board with former champion Kyle Matthews, who takes a wild tumble here. Oh. Fortunately, both the cars that went for a tumble, Matthews and Voiles, their cars landed on all 4 wheels, but needless to say, that big wreck over in 3 and 4 has taken out a lot of drivers, and I believe a couple of playoff contenders are amongst them. Bring it back here to live action, waiting for the pace car to give us the 1 to green. Ironically enough, it looks like most of our leaders did not come to pit road when it was open. Granted, they can't make it the rest of the way from this point on, and they would have to make one more pit stop before the conclusion, so I guess they would rather keep the track position. But the drivers that we have officially at this point that are out of the race include Charles Sanford, Matt McIntyre, Cole Deaver, Carson Gum, Kyle Matthews, Daniel Voiles, Mitchell Collins, and then 2 playoff drivers will be starting out this postseason a little bit behind the 8 ball. They will include Will Goss and Reese Banks. That's a tough break there for Reese, who started this race from the outside of the front row today. And he came into this race in the final 17th seed. Will Goss came into this race in the 6th seed. And he was only 5 points with all the reformatted standings above the 12th in the standings cut line. So both those drivers will look to bounce back next week at Chatham Dirt. We're going to have, looks like 33 drivers left running, all 33 on the lead lap when we go back green. Casey Hoyt is the current race leader. Jose Mills in second, Ryan Butcher third, Keith Batson fourth, and fifth is Dylan Poteet. So 4 playoff drivers currently inside of the top 5. RJ Bishop, who's led the most laps up to this point, will restart in 6th. Anthony McCurry in 7th. Destin Bolin is now up in 8th. Reggie Fogelman in 9th. And Ryan Brommer completes the top 10. So that is 5 playoff contenders in the top 10 for this restart. Got one just outside the top 10. Jessica Shelton restarting in 11th. Nick Gunther will be 12th. Caleb Fogler, defending winner of this race, is up to 13th. Austin LaPlante in 14th. And Matthew Rodriguez currently holds 15th. Nathan Ormond, Quentin Moore, Jesse Turner, Rob Evans, Joshua Osborne are your top 20. And the rest of your playoff drivers are restarting back in 23rd for Zach Rogers and 29th for Dylan Young. James Qualls and Connor Breton will probably be damaged, maybe off the pace. They restart still on the lead lap in 31st and 32nd. A couple of our 3-time winners. One of our 3-time winners, Casey Hoyt, up here at the front, trying to be a 4-time winner on the season. He's got a tough task, though. He's got one of the most winningest drivers, the most winningest driver in the Duracell Next Gen Cup Series right behind him in Jose Mills. Another driver that's got a lot of momentum on his side after his victory a couple of weeks ago at Bristol Dirt in Ryan Butcher. Going to be nearing halfway here as we get ready to go back green. At least one more pit stop these drivers are going to have to make. If my calculations are correct, they're probably going to be making that pit stop somewhere in the vicinity of 20 laps to go. So we're around the lap 60 mark. Green flag back in the air. Dylan Poteet stepping out for 4th place on Keith Batson. Almost contact between those two as RJ Bishop forces the issue 3 wide. Ahead of them, battle for 2nd. Ryan Butcher to the inside of Jose Mills. Poteet's going to complete the pass, move up into 4th place. Ryan Butcher looks to complete the pass on Jose Mills, and he will do so easily through the center of 3 and 4. Points the nose, gets a great shot off the final corner down the front straightaway. Now he sets his sights on Casey Hoyt for the top position. 5th place under contest. RJ Bishop will take that from Batson, who continues to fall back here. Reggie Fogelman and Anthony McCurry side by side for 7th. As Batson continues to have trouble holding the bottom of the racetrack, Fogelman tries to get the run on the inside to challenge for that position. Not able to do so just yet. Ryan Butcher has closed up the gap between himself and Casey Hoyt. Looks like he's got the better short run car here. Looking for that momentum out of turn 2, down the back straightaway. Will he show the nose down here into 3? Does he have enough of a run? Doesn't look like quite yet. So far in this race, we have only had 3 different race leaders, I should say. RJ Bishop has led 22 laps. Casey Hoyt has led now 16 laps, and Keith Batson has led 2. But Butcher wants to be the 4th different leader, as there was nearly contact between himself and Casey Hoyt. That forced Hoyt way up out of the groove he wanted to run, and Ryan Butcher muscles his way to the top position. Dylan Poteet back here, fighting with RJ Bishop for 4th. Looks to complete the pass here through 3 and 4. Looks like he's clear, and he is. Bishop will fall back to the 5th spot. Ryan Butcher now trying to set sail after taking the lead from Casey Hoyt. Remember, for Butcher, Hoyt, Poteet, Batson, if they win, they're locked into the next round of the playoffs. That's what's on the line for them here tonight. For Jose Mills and RJ Bishop and Reggie Fogelman, they just want to go to victory lane. For all 3 of them, looking for their first victory here of Season 7. RJ was a 2-time winner last year. Jose Mills hasn't gone to victory lane since, I believe, Season 4, if I recall correctly. And Reggie Fogelman was a winner back in Season 5. It's been a bit of a winless streak for him also. Let's drop a little further back here in the field. How about Destin Bolin, Matthew Rodriguez here, now up inside of the top 10 and looking to battle each other for 9th. And Rodriguez is going to easily make that pass It's been a nice, easy transition, it looks like, for both Reggie Fogelman and Matthew Rodriguez, driving for different teams these past couple of weeks. Fogelman going over to the Haas Racing entry that Rodriguez has been in most of the year, with the vacant spot over at Northeast Motorsports. Rodriguez filling in that spot in the 24, and as it looks here tonight, both drivers making the transition quite easily. Rodriguez looked pretty strong last week at Auto Club. Fogelman did in the early stages, as he has back-to-back weeks qualified inside of the Fast 10. Jessica Shelton fading back a bit there. She just lost a spot to Quentin Moore. A good run there for the 89 in his second full-time season. Ryan Brommer just up ahead there as well. Looks like at least two of the Auto Junction Racing cars running strong here tonight, with Ryan Butcher just recently taking the lead. And keep an eye on this guy, because when I was reading off the running order for the restart, Caleb Vogler has made his way forward. He's in the 15th position. He knows how to win at this racetrack. Remember, last year was the debut year for the next-gen car. So nobody aside from Caleb Vogler has the winning race strategy, or the race-winning setup, I guess you could say, for a next-gen car here at Gateway, because both Gateway and the next-gen car debuted last season. So Vogler might have something up his sleeve for the closing stages of this race. Looks like Connor Breton, for the most part, is still up to speed, but James Qualls appears to be off the pace. He is consistently running about a half-second slower than the drivers up here at the front of the pack. I don't know if necessarily he's going to turn into slower traffic that the leaders are going to have to deal with. He is right now being scored 15 seconds behind the race leaders, which would put him about 17 seconds ahead of Ryan Butcher. But then Ryan would actually have to deal with Matt Haas first, who right now would be about 13 seconds ahead of him. There is the 8 of Matt Haas, and there is the 70 of James Qualls. A lot of damage on that car. The whole back bumper gone, the front end gone. Looks kind of like a 358 modified in a way, or a street stock. Just trying to salvage what he can. Right now still on the lead lap in the 32nd position. We know he'll at least garner more points than Will Goss and Reese Banks, the two playoff drivers at this point that are out of the race. Dylan Poteet and RJ Bishop, they have been side by side for that 4th position for about the last 6, 7, 8 laps. Neither one giving an inch. Bishop going to win out on that battle, though, and now he'll try and put the pressure on Jose Mills to maybe move up into the podium. Reggie Fogelman now under fire from Matthew Rodriguez, who appears to have a very good long-run car. Rodriguez was in around the 10th, 11th position when we last checked in. He's already up to 8th and putting pressure on the car that he formerly drove to victory lane at both Daytona and Indianapolis this season. And continuing to march forward. I cannot help but think about the journey that Matthew Rodriguez has been on this season. It will be unparalleled to anything else I think that a driver will do in the course of their career in Duracell Cup Series history. Matthew Rodriguez was supposed to be a part-time driver. He was only supposed to run the super speedways for that second entry out of Haas Racing. Other drivers were going to fill in here and there at different areas, Benny Watson and Roberto Crown Jr. But Rodriguez qualified his way into the Daytona 500, then went out and won the doggone thing. After that, there was a conglomerate effort between Haas Racing and Bishop Family Racing to try and have Rodriguez have a ride every single week, to try and keep himself in a wild card conversation, at least inside the top 30 in points. Didn't always work out. He didn't qualify for a total of 6 races during the course of the regular season, and fell below that wild card cut line, 3rd in standings, several times. But having 2 victories, including the Indianapolis win, 2 of the Crown Jewel races this season, and eventually down the home stretch being able to qualify into the final 3 races of the season, he was able to garner enough points to get into the top 30 in the standings after Auto Club, and he is battling for a championship. Imagine planning out the start of the season as a part-timer, and next thing you know, you're in the playoffs. Jose Mills appears to be falling off. RJ Bishop just actually completed the pass around him for third. Now Matthew Rodriguez trying to move up to fourth. Reggie Fogelman way up the track there, and that opens up the door for Keith Batson to try and battle back to seventh. Dylan Poteet now going to go to work on Jose Mills, who's lost 2 spots in the last 3 laps, and about to lose a third to Dylan Poteet. This is for the 5th spot. Bishop back up on the podium, trying to reel in Casey Hoyt, who's trying to reel in Ryan Butcher. And we are about 6 laps away from when I'm expecting these drivers will be to pit lane. Maybe a little longer than that if they were able to save some fuel under the pacing lap. There's also some drivers as well, and this might be worth reporting, that did come to pit road under that last caution. I don't think they can make it the rest of the way. Is Butcher going to go to work there on the slower car of Matt Haas? Doesn't look like it's going to be much of a problem for him. But they can go a little bit further at least. But I think they're going to have to come to pit lane. The highest running of those drivers right now is Zachary Fitzwater, who is in the 20th position. And that's a driver that utilized the green flag pit stop cycle to gain track position. Because remember, before the pit stop cycle began, Fitzwater was running dead last. So he's done a great job of coming back. Other drivers that also came to pit road under that last caution that we should keep an eye on here on this final pit stop cycle include Laura Chung, Benjamin Miles, Dylan Young, Connor Breton, Cody Lamas, Levi McIntyre, and James Qualls. Now granted, Qualls is slow and off the pace, so he might not be as much of a factor into the potential pit strategy as all of those others, but keep an eye on that 66 of Fitzwater. I think we're going to see him cycle out to the race lead when most of these other drivers hit pit road. Question is, how much further would he be able to go? My guess is probably only about, at the most, 5 extra laps before he'd have to come to pit lane. I don't think anybody's going to be able to make it. But I think some of those drivers that came to pit road that second time might have come to pit road for that extra bit of fuel in case we went to a long green flag run, but maybe also to change tires, because we had about 5 or 6 green flag laps between the pit stop cycle and that caution coming out. Ryan Butcher looking really good right now. Very strong Toyota Camry. Of course, the big question in that camp is Ryan Butcher planning on returning next season? We've already gotten the confirmation Laura Chung's going to be back in the 77. Ryan Brommer's going to be back in the 87. Still no word on Ryan Butcher at this point in time of recording on whether he's returning to the team or not. Might be stepping out into a managerial role. We'll have to wait and see. But almost to the lap 60 mark, which is where I'm projecting these drivers are going to have to start thinking about coming back to pit road. We saw, for the most part, everybody get on and off pit road safely with that difficult access onto pit lane. And you got to wonder about this team here, the 98 of RJ Bishop. Remember, he was second when the pit stop cycle began, and he came out around the 7th position. They lost spots on pit road. This is going to be the money stop, and he's been able to work his way back up to 3rd place. Matthew Rodriguez and Dylan Poteet, a couple of former teammates from Fortnite Squad Racing back in Season 5. They're duking it out for 4th. Looks like Rodriguez is going to keep the spot. James Qualls in the 70 was on pit road, making his final pit stop of the day, and maybe also pitting this early to get out of the way of the race leader. I think we got more drivers that might be indicating they're coming to pit road this time. Ryan Butcher will not be amongst them. Jose Mills is going to dive in from 6th. Reggie Fogelman coming in as well. We'll wait and see where these two cycle after all is said and done. They were 6th and 8th at the start of this pit cycle. Ryan Brommer's in, Nathan Ormond. Playoff contender Jessica Shelton's coming in this time. Oh, Benjamin Miles missed the pit lane entry. You saw right there, really low off of turn 4. He didn't make it. Dylan Young's also in. Jesse Turner and Zach Rogers, along with Caleb Fogler and Connor Breton of our playoff contenders. Ryan Butcher's coming in this time. Oh, Casey Hoyt missed it! And he's not going to make it. Casey Hoyt is going to lose a lot of track position for that mistake. Playoff contender, been up in the top 5 all night, led. I believe Anthony McCurry stayed out in extra lap. And it looks like that was on purpose. He appears to still be up to speed. So he'll get a bonus point for a lap led, and he'll probably make the dive onto pit lane this time. And we'll have to see after all this where Casey Hoyt cycles out, as he will try and make it on a pit road for the second attempt, and this looks like this time he will do so. Jose Mills there in the 38. Let's see where he cycles around to. He was the first one inside the top 10 to make the dive onto pit lane. He was 6th when he pitted. Waiting for other drivers to come off of pit road of that second pack. Let's see if there's anybody here he passes. He's about to catch RJ Bishop. There's Ryan Butcher. Did Matthew Rodriguez get out ahead of the 78? Yes, he did. Ooh, Qualls down the apron trying to get out of everybody's way. He knows he's off the pace, and he's trying not to be a hindrance to these leaders. Veteran move there out of James Qualls, but I think Matthew Rodriguez is going to go to the point. The 24 team getting it done on pit road. Now let's see where McCurry is. Yeah, McCurry is not coming out here with these leaders, so it will indeed be the 24 of Matthew Rodriguez. Rodriguez just continuing to try and set up history here. Looking for what would be his 3rd win on the season. His first win on the season in a Chevrolet. His other 2 wins were with a Toyota. And scoring does indeed update and put the 24 to P1. Side by side for second. Jose Mills trying to take the position from Ryan Butcher. And he is going to do it. Reggie Fogelman is now going to cycle into the 4th spot, getting by RJ Bishop. And remember, I mentioned Mills and Fogelman. Let's see where they cycled out to. They came into pit road at 6th and 8th. They cycled out to 2nd and 4th. So the short pit strategy call worked out for both of those drivers. But now, does Jose Mills have enough time with 15 to go next time at the stripe to reel in the FRN Chevrolet? Anthony McCurry is cycled out to 6th. We know he's got the freshest tires. Ryan Brommer right now in 7th. Great night for him. Dylan Pote currently in the 8th spot. Nathan Ormond is in 9th. And the 10th position is going to be Destin Bolin in the 12 car. Costly mistake for Casey Hoyt's going to have him all the way back here in the 12th position. Keith Batson also lost a couple of spots as he's back in 11th. And now under fire from Casey Hoyt for that spot. Matthew Rodriguez trying to set qualifying laps right now. Trying to maintain what is less than a 1.5 second gap between himself and Jose Mills. That translates to a little less than a third of a straightaway right now. And let's take a look at lap times. 33.011 for Rodriguez. 32.867 for Jose Mills. About a 1/10 quicker. And within viewing range of Rodriguez. Now catching him is one thing, passing him is another. And remember what's on the line here for these drivers. For Rodriguez, the leader. For Ryan Butcher in 3rd. If they win tonight, they're locked into the round of 12. Automatic golden ticket. For Jose Mills, he's trying to extend his most wins in the Duracell Cup Series total. And that last time by, he ran a 10th quicker than Rodriguez. Does he have enough laps? I think he does. I think he definitely has enough laps to be able to get up there. It's going to be 12 to go next time by. This is not the same scenario as we had last night, where second place was running faster lap times but didn't have enough laps to be able to close the gap up and be able to do something. Ooh, I wonder at that time, I think Rodriguez might have been quicker. Mills looked a little tight off of 4. Let's see if the scoring indicates that. No, it does not actually. He was 1/10 quicker again. Looked like he was slower off of 4, but nope, the scoring says he was faster. Then you got some Camrys there Ryan Butcher and Reggie Fogelman, and they are going to start duking it out for third place. Fogelman throwing it in on Butcher going into 3. Ooh, almost got him in the left rear quarter panel. Fogelman looks like he's got a very strong car here in the closing stages, as he looks to move his way up into the podium. Butcher going to stay to his outside and now has to give up the spot there through the center of 1 and 2. So Fogelman will move up to third place. And Mills is continuing to close. Update on the rest of the playoff drivers outside of the top 10. Casey Hoyt is now back up to 11th. Keith Batson's in 13th. Austin LaPlante 14th. Caleb Fogler is 15th. Rob Evans has made his way up to 17th. Connor Breeden is 21st. Jessica Shelton has fallen all the way back to 24th. Dylan Young is in 27th. Jesse Turner in 28th. Zach Rogers in 29th. And that's the cars that are on the lead lap. James Qualls is out of the race, 4 laps down in 33rd. He brought his car to the garage area just a few laps ago. Was unlikely he was going to pick up any other spots before the conclusion of this one, so he called it an early race. And of course, if you're just joining us, we had only one caution here this evening, a big wreck over in 3 and 4. And that took out 9 drivers, including 2 playoff contenders, Will Goss, who will finish in 38th, and Reese Banks, who will finish in 39th, and will most certainly be below the 12th in the standings cut line heading into Chatham Dirt next week. The battle is on for the lead. Jose Mills has reeled in Matthew Rodriguez, and Reggie Fogelman is closing in on these two as well. We could have 3 cars duking it out for this top spot, as at the line that time it was only 8 laps to go. Plenty of time for Mills or Fogelman to steal away an automatic trip to the round of 12 for Matthew Rodriguez. And if these drivers mix it up, you've got Ryan Butcher back there, Anthony McCurry, Ryan Brommer. There's no saying they can't get into this conversation either. Saw Jose Mills run a half groove lower there through 3 and 4, trying to get some clean air to the nose. Give him better turn through the center of the corner to be able to generate a run here down the front straightaway. Again, running a little bit lower there. Left side's almost down to the red and white rumble strips through 1 and 2. Fogelman is running the fastest lap times of the top 3 right now. Rodriguez a little high there. Mills going to again be almost a full groove lower, trying to generate any kind of a run he possibly can. These drivers were last on pit road about 15 laps ago, so the tire fall off would have begun by now, by about as much as a half second. So what kind of a car, what kind of grip does Jose Mills have? Does he even have to worry about that, because the 80 of Reggie Fogelman is closing in on both of them at a rapid pace? But did he use up his stuff in trying to reel in the top 2? 5 laps to go this time, and Mills can't wait too terribly long. He's got to start experimenting here, try and make some charges. Get Rodriguez's attention. Because every lap you run is going to continue to wear down those tires, and it's going to take away more and more of your options. And now throw a blanket over the top 3. Fogelman has entered into the conversation. A Chevrolet, a Ford, and a Toyota. It has been a Ford-dominating performance this weekend. You had Fords on the front row yesterday in the lights race, and a Ford went on to win the race. Top 5 spots in the starting grid today were blue ovals. And you had a dominating performance of Fords out in front for most of this one, with Keith Batson and R.J. Bishop and Casey Hoyt. Toyota broke to the front with Ryan Butcher, and now Chevrolet is leading in the closing stages with Matthew Rodriguez. Am I hearing an idling engine up ahead as the battle is on for second? Matt Haas and Kyler Sustry coming out of turn 4. The field is entering into turn 3. So I don't think that they're going to have to deal with traffic here before the checkered flag. Fogelman tried the inside there against Mills, and he lost a ton of momentum, and the caution is out. Yellow flag is out. This race is going to end under yellow, and Matthew Rodriguez won't have to worry about that final 2.5 miles that he will have to defend against Jose Mills, because he is going to be leading us around under this yellow flag and picking up his third win of the season, his first in only his second start with Northeast Motorsports. And Matthew Rodriguez, who again, the story continues to be written for this driver here in Season 7, he will be automatically moving on to the round of 12 to compete for the championship. Two laps to go here at the stripe for Matthew Rodriguez. What brought out the caution is going to be the next big question. And I believe it may have had something to do with our regular season champion, Rob Evans, who is being scored off the lead lap right now. We'll go back and we'll take a look at what happened to Rob Evans in just a moment. We're going to stay up here with the leaders just to make sure nothing untoward happens here in the closing stages. They're going to see the white flag next time by. We're going to have only two playoff drivers finish this race up inside of the top 5. Rodriguez in the lead and Ryan Butcher in 4th. And then it looks like there are only two other playoff drivers that are going to finish inside the top 10. Dustin Bolin in 9th and Casey Hoyt in 10th. Dylan Poteet, Keith Batson, Austin LaPlante, Caleb Vogler will all just be outside of the top 10 from 12th back to 15th. As this time by, white flag will be displayed for Matthew Rodriguez. Well, a lot of question marks with this 24 car next season. Reggie Fogelman going to be moving over to Haas Racing, leaving the vacated 24. Rodriguez has made the announcement that he is not planning on returning to the Cup Series next season. As a matter of fact, he announced that if he ended up getting eliminated from the playoffs, that would be his last start. So we know we're going to see him for at least 5 more races. The 2 remaining races here in this round and 3 more races in the round of 12. But this is obviously a very strong machine, as evidenced here tonight. And somebody, whether it be a returning veteran or a debuting rookie in Season 8, is going to have a very strong Chevrolet Camaro ride. This is going to mark the 4th win on the season for Northeast Motorsports, the first for any other car outside of the 88, as Breton had the previous 3 victories so far here in Season 7. And it took Matthew Rodriguez, a part-time driver, a Daytona 500 winner, a 2-time Crown Jewel race winner, to get behind the wheel and put this 24 car in victory lane for, I believe, the first time since Season 4, when Nathan Hudson went to victory lane at Michigan. Checkered flag in the air. It's the 3rd win of the season for Matthew Rodriguez, as he is going to do it here tonight at Gateway International. He will advance into the round of 12. And now comes the question of who else will join him. 11 more drivers still have to make their way into the postseason, and they will continue their journey when we go to Chatham Dirt next week. Let's find out what brought out the caution. Rob Evans finishing this race 2 laps down, so I assume it may have had something to do with him. And I wonder if he might have come to a stop on the racetrack here or something, thus prompting out the yellow flag. It looks like he had his problem entering into turn 3. We'll see it here with his teammate Zachary Fitzwater behind him. Watch the closing rate right there. And Evans couldn't make the left-hand turn quickly enough to get onto pit road. And so as that car is decreasing speed, with cars flying around him, car is going to come to a stop right here in the front stretch, and NNSCRA officials no choice, especially with the leaders barreling down at this point over probably in turn 3's entry. They had to throw the caution for the stopped car on the racetrack. I think the leaders were just entering into the vicinity right there. And some kind of a mechanical problem for Rob Evans, going to have him finish the last car running back in 32nd place after coming into this race in the four-way tie for the points lead between himself, Casey Hoyt, James Qualls, and Connor Breton. Now, Jose Mills going to be left wondering what if he had had those final 3 laps under green to be able to try and challenge Matthew Rodriguez for this victory. Rodriguez catching that yellow flag at just the right time and not having to defend in the closing stages against the hard-charging Mills and Reggie Fogelman in those final 10 laps. So Rodriguez moves on to the next round of the playoffs. Jose Mills in second. Fogelman, a great run in his second start for Haas Racing. Looks like this is going to be a very good transition for him, starting off in Season 8 full-time with the team. Ryan Butcher will be the second highest finishing playoff driver in 4th, so some good points coming his way. And good run here tonight for Anthony McCurry, up inside the top 10 all night long in that Mazda, and he'll garner a 5th place spot. Ryan Brommer, second Auto Junction Racing car to finish up inside the top 10. Strong outing for him all night. In 6th, RJ Bishop, after leading the most laps this evening at 22 laps out in front. He'll bring it home in 7th. Nathan Ormond, our Watkins Glen winner, brings it home in 8th. Destin Bolin, going to be 9th, third highest of our playoff finishers. And Casey Hoyt, who had that pit road miscue, missed the pit road entry on the final pit stop. He could have very easily been in the conversation for this win. He'll have to settle for 10th place. Quentin Moore, good run there for him in 11th. And then there's the rest of that group of playoff drivers just inside the top 15 in Dylan Poteet, Keith Batson, Austin LaPlante, and the defending winner no longer of this race, Caleb Fogler. Where'd the rest of our playoff drivers finish? They're going to be scrambling for points next week. Connor Breton finishes in 21st. Jessica Shelton in 24th. Dylan Young, 25th. Jesse Turner in 26th. Zach Rogers, 28th. Rob Evans, who brought out that last caution, 32nd. James Qualls was the last driver to retire, as he'll finish in 33rd. And then also out of the race after our first caution of the day would be Will Goss in 38th and Reese Banks in 39th. So obviously we'd have to wait for the calculations to come in, but eyeballing it, you would certainly think that Will Goss and Reese Banks would be below the cut line. Rob Evans and James Qualls might have fallen below that cut line. I think for certain Zach Rogers is below that cut line, and then question marks there. You know, Dylan Young, Jessica Shelton, Jesse Turner, James Qualls, and who was the other driver that I was looking at? Rob Evans. Question marks on those drivers as to who's above the cut line and who isn't. We may have some ties around that cut line area as well, but some drivers that are definitely going to have some good cushioning going into next week would have to include Ryan Butcher, Destin Bolin, Casey Hoyt, and then pretty close there will be between Poteet, Batson, LaPlante, and Fogler, drivers that will maybe be either the cut line driver or just barely above it heading into Chatham Dirt, which is going to be just the Cup drivers next week. We won't see the lights drivers until another 2 weeks at Nashville Superspeedway, but Matthew Rodriguez, golden ticket into the round of 12 with his 3rd win on the season. Here tonight, his 1st for the Northeast Motorsports team. What a crazy race here from Gateway. That's why we came back to it, because it was a wild one last season, and it was just as crazy and unpredictable here tonight. It's coming back in Season 8. You don't even have to ask. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's race, though, from Gateway. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and be part of the crew today. We have shown you full picture results, and you are now looking at the point standings and your playoff points as a result of this evening's event. Keep an eye around that cut line, because we'll be talking a lot about it next week. Next week, we are at Chatham, the road course, but the dirt-covered road course. Last year, it was pavement. This year, it's dirt. Going to be the wild card race in this round of 17 for sure. We'll see you guys next week for that race. Until then, I've been Seth Gold, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.